Uh, Aarti, this is related to the little ones. Most of the children nowadays having problems with language, delayed language. They're not able to talk much, or some of them talk in a very peculiar accent and mostly in English, not in the mother tongue. Can we address that issue?
Ma'am, language is a very innate process. When I say innate, it's developed only in exposure. So, for example, if I'm in an ecosystem, when I say ecosystem, a family or a school system, where I am exposed to a lot of language, people speaking spontaneously, I acquire language. Now, this is something that has happened post pandemic as well. Children had no social interaction, they had no opportunities for play. In fact, some of our first grade kids, 2 years, they have not even seen school, directly coming into first grade and things like that. What has happened during these 2 years, and it's also happened since 2009 when the screens became larger and more accessible. Before that, you notice only the TV and the desktop and the laptop, but then your tabs and all that came in. What happened to a lot of children is that they started, the mother was not able to feed the child, a tab was
Yeah.
given, things like that. So the tab essentially took over all of the human interaction that the child required. It's a very sad state of affairs because language is something that can develop only when there is a need. Now, if I need to communicate with you and I don't speak the same language, either I'm going to listen to you and see what words I can use in my conversation, or we're going to find a middle way or middle path to sort of learn that we'll use gestures or something. So, in all situations, when there is a need and when there is exposure, language is acquired. In today's day and age, most parents are working, and so the kind of conversations are limited to just 10 minutes before the child goes to sleep or something like that. And even worse than that, the whole day the child is in the care of like a helper or a grandparent who's not able to run around with the child, and they're looking at gadgets and picking up your accent question. When they have this funny accent, it's because they've been got given some funny app which says this develops English or this develops something, and then they have an American accent or a British accent that's teaching them language. So what is it telling you? If that's the case, the child has been exposed to more technology related language than actual human interaction. And you'll see with these children, they may be what we call hyperlexic. They may be able to read but no comprehension of what they've read. So this is where we have to start realizing it's quite dangerous. I'm using the word dangerous with a lot of caution as well, because when I say dangerous, relationships thrive on the ability of a person to use language. Verbal, non-verbal, it doesn't matter. But if I need to respond to somebody effectively, I need to have language. If I need to be able to make sense of my world, I need language. Yes, sensory inputs are important, but to be able to communicate what I'm thinking, I need language in some form. So, here, as parents, the first thing that I would suggest to most of them is to remove gadgets as much as possible. I know that we are a school in Hyderabad where, we believe that technology is a very, very important aspect of a child's development. I've seen parents who say, oh, he can operate this app,
Yeah,
he can,
so true.
swipe this, he can do this. Yes, they're skills because they're born in a ecosystem that's rich in technology. If this child was born in an ecosystem rich with agriculture, they'll know agriculture. If they were born in a ecosystem that's rich in relationships, their relational capacities are going to be higher. So where we place a child is their normal ecosystem. And so if I give them technology, they will master technology. But I believe that technology must always be balanced with relationships. And when this balance happens, language development becomes very natural. And for children to know language, they need to have adults who are speaking to them. They have peer group with whom they can play spontaneously, not classes. This is also a culture where you have to send them for music class, send them for this class, send them for that class. That's not where they're acquiring language. Language is acquired in play, and young children learn through fantasy. As you may have seen, many of them play doctor, doctor, teacher, teacher. That fantasy play is so important for acquisition of language. And most important, when it comes to a screen, and I keep repeating this so much because our research points in this direction, children who look at a screen, adults who look at a screen, the eyes fix in a small space. We call that the ocular lock. When the ocular lock, which means the eye muscles fix in one place, the auditory channels are cut off. So what happens is the child is so engrossed in the visual overload, so much of overload with all the colors and all of this stimulation, that the child is not able to auditorily or verbally communicate anymore. their acquisition of language is reduced. So we assessed the current 10th grade in one of the schools in another city, and we noticed that their language levels were almost 6 years less. And if you notice, this was a school that was using smart boards all the time, children going back home and being on the tab all the time. They were visually okay, but auditorily not able to even communicate in basic sentences. This is where I think, as parents, as teachers, we need to start looking at the signs and realizing something is wrong. So, for language acquisition, relationships and play are so important.
Thank you. Most needed.